Hello everyone and welcome to the 15th installment of the Midweek Recap. Can't believe I'm now at 15 episodes already of the Midweek Recap. And today we will be previewing the Eiffel Grand Prix, as well as going through a lot of the news, or not previewing, reviewing the Eiffel Grand Prix, as well as reviewing a lot of the news that has come out since the events that happened at the Nürburgring. Now, before we go into it, make sure you follow us on Twitter at RaceWeek Show. Make sure you check out the RaceWeek website, raceweekblog.com. There's going to be a post about the Eiffel Grand Prix coming up. And make sure you like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Leave a like on this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. So, without further ado, let's go in to the news. So, kicking off the news with Yuki Tsunoda. He will be testing the AlphaTauri car after the race in Imola, where he will have his first shakedown, I believe, in a Formula 1 car. We at first thought his first shakedown was going to be during the Abu Dhabi test after the final race of the year, but it turns out that he will be testing the AlphaTauri car after Imola. I believe he might be testing a 2018 car at the track afterwards. But Yuki Tsunoda will be getting his first go in a Formula 1 car, and I'm pretty sure that he is now almost a lock for, considering the super license rule change, I'm starting to believe he is now a lock for the AlphaTauri seat for next year. That it's pretty much a done deal. The second piece of news from the weekend, Fernando Alonso is back in a current Formula 1 car. Renault hosted a filming day at Barcelona after the Eiffel Grand Prix. And in the car was Fernando Alonso, where he got his first taste of the car. He positively reviewed the car, stated that it drove really well, and I think, considering how good this car is and they're using the same cars next year, I have a feeling that we could see some really good performances from Fernando next year. The third bit of news to go through is there is change in Formula 2. Théo Pourchaire will be competing in the final 2 rounds of the FIA Formula 2 Championship, driving the HWA car, which was occupied by Jake Hughes. And after a really competitive Formula 3 season, it's really good to see him getting a shot in a Formula 2 car for the final 2 races of the season. Now, I'm not sure that much is going to be expected of him in the final 2 races. He's just going to be getting used to the car in the hope of having a full-time drive for next year. But this could be valuable experience for him going forward when he most probably enters Formula 2 full-time next year. And also we had some other racing at the weekend. We saw the British Touring Car Championship takes place, and it was a good weekend for Josh Cook, having won both the first and the second races at Croft with 2 drives where he led away from the front, although he did until in the second race Matt Neal got past him, but a penalty for pushing, considering the move was deemed to be illegal because he kind of bumped Josh Cook out the way. Matt Neal was penalised, and then that gave Josh Cook the win. The reverse grid race was won by Tom Ingram, who is now, after a tough start to the year, really starting to bring himself into title contention. It wasn't such a good weekend for Colin Turkington, though. having finished in third in the first race, he had a retirement he had two retirements, or basically two retirements. He retired in the second race after going off at the first corner, and in the third race he suffered damage after contact at the first corner as well. He got back out on track, and I believe he also set the fastest lap, but he's not only lost out to Ash Sutton, he has also lost out to Dan Camish with 2 rounds to go. This is not what Colin Turkington needs. Ash Sutton leads the standings by 7 points back to Dan Camish in second. Then you have Colin Turkington in third ahead of Tom Ingram in fourth. Then you have Rory Butcher in fifth, Tom Oliphant in sixth, Tom Chilton in seventh, Matt Neal in eighth, Adam Morgan in ninth, and Josh Cook in 10th. Of course, another notable moment of the weekend was a massive shunt that Bobby Thompson had. Another big British touring car accident. After Rory Butcher the previous round, we saw Bobby Thompson go off into the grass mounds, which sent him into a series of barrel rolls. Thankfully, he did get out of the car okay, and the red flag wasn't even needed. I mean, everything was way off the track. But it was a really big accident, and his team have quite a lot of work to get his car out for Snetterton next week. So, not really a good moment for his team. And supporting the British Touring Car Championship, we had the British Formula 4 Championship. And now, this season is starting to hot up, isn't it? Luke, we had, after a tough weekend for the championship leader there's only 2 races this weekend due to the schedule, but a 6th and a 3rd was not what he needed when both the drivers behind him got a 1st place and a 2nd place. Zach O'Sullivan won the 1st race and finished in 2nd in the 2nd race, and has brought the gap back down to 13 points. Casper Stevenson was 2nd in the 1st race and then won the 2nd race. So, not really the best of weekends for championship leader Luke Browning, but he still leads the standings by 13 points back to Zach O'Sullivan in 2nd. Then you have Casper Stevenson in 3rd place, ahead of James Headley, who had a bit of an off weekend, it can be said. Then you had Alex Connor in 5th, ahead of Abby Pulling, who took another podium, who I think is due a win sometime soon. Then you have Roman Belinsky in 7th, ahead of Christian Mansell in 8th, Roberto Faria in 9th, with Frederick Lubin rounding out the top 10. And that is the current standings in the Formula 4 Championship. So, now we've gone through the news, let's go into the analysis of events that took place at the Nürburgring. So, the first thing I am going to analyse about the Nürburgring is the start of the race. My first thought when this happened was Lewis was attempting to do what he did. That felt Hamilton-Rosberg-esque going into that first corner. The way that he edged Valtteri Bottas off the track. At the start of the race, Lewis got the better launch. So here you can see, Lewis got the better launch. But Valtteri Bottas immediately went to the inside to try to cover him. But he could not go to them as much to the inside as he wanted to. Lewis was already there. So he could not go to the inside the way that he wanted to. As Lewis had the high ground going to the first corner. So that came to the next resort for Valtteri Bottas, which was to brake as late as he possibly can going into the corner. And try to hold it around the outside. But Lewis was having none of it. As you can see, he went as wide as he could. And then that pushed Valtteri Bottas off the track as well. But Valtteri, the thing that was impressive here from Bottas was he stood his ground. He still got the drive off the corner And with the high ground going into turn 2, he was able to hold the lead. Of course, he would throw the lead away after a lockup, and then, of course, he wouldn't score anything after his retirement. But this is feistiness that people want to see from Valtteri Bottas, and from both drivers, for the matter as well. And the next thing I am going to analyse is the Albon and Kvyat instance. So here, as you can see, Kvyat runs wide going into the chicane, goes across. Then inevitably Albon is going to try to take full advantage and switch to the inside. But the thing is, he misjudges it. The distance between him and Kvyat. He thinks he's fully ahead, but he's not. He pulls in front, but his front wing is still alongside. And this is the on-board footage. As you can see, Kvyat runs off the track. And inevitably, Albon's going to switch back to see if he can get the inside. And he thinks he's ahead at this point, but he isn't. His front wing is still alongside, and it was a bit of a clumsy mistake from Albon. So the thing I have to mention, this brings me on to the next thing. What is going on with Alex Albon? Considering he just got the podium a couple of races ago, but it was just a very bad race for him. He just seemed to be trying too hard. And the thing that I found strange with him is that his racecraft is usually his strong point, and that's where he failed massively last weekend. That is where he failed massively, because he was making mistakes in wheel-to-wheel combat, and that's something that we're not used to from him. My fear right now is that this is the start of him really beginning to crumble. And this is could signal the start of a downward spiral in his confidence. Because now Red Bull are starting to talk about other options. They were talking about even saying that they might be considering Hülkenberg for next year. And there are signs from Red Bull that they are starting to lose their patience with him. So, I wonder if this is the pressure really starting to get to him, and him starting to go into a similar downward spiral as was seen with Pierre Gasly. I mean, but the thing is, what do they do? What do they actually do? Because we've obviously seen Gasly's struggles in the car, and Kvyat, we know, is basically on borrowed time until another Red Bull Junior is ready, and that could be next year. But what is going to happen? I'm actually starting to think that a swap back could be imminent, and the reason I am starting to think that is there have been rumours surrounding. There have been rumours around the place that Pierre Gasly might want to look elsewhere if no opportunity at Red Bull turns up. So this may be this could possibly be Red Bull's last opportunity. And I'm pretty sure they want a Gasly at his best in that car that can perform. The Gasly that we are seeing right now, rather than the Gasly that we saw last year in that car. But, as I said, if they don't go for him next year, then maybe not necessarily for 2021, but for 2022 perhaps, could he possibly look elsewhere for a potential seat? Because, and if Red Bull are that keen to hold on to him, they might feel pressured to take him for 2021. But a demotion to AlphaTauri, I think, is what Albon needs. I think he needs to regain his confidence. He needs a chance to prove what he is capable of in that car. I think going forward, as I've said, he could be a great Red Bull driver, but maybe now is just not the time yet. And I honestly think that he could do with a season or two more in the AlphaTauri. So, now we're going to have a look at the current state of play in the drivers' standings. So, having a look at what is going in the drivers' standings right now, it's Lewis Hamilton that currently leads the standings ahead of Valtteri Bottas in second. Valtteri Bottas lost a lot of points to Lewis. The gap is now at 69 points, and that is a very hard total to close. And Max Verstappen has actually closed on to Valtteri Bottas now. He's only 14 points behind. So, at the moment, his second place could be at threat. But he's got a quick enough car to be able to hold on to it. Then you have Daniel Ricciardo in fourth place, and he is proving to be one of the stars. He's finished in the top 6 in the last 5 races, and he's just found himself in that car, and he's on a roll at the moment, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we saw him on the podium again this season. In fact, at the rate he's going, I'd be surprised if we didn't. Then you have Sergio Perez in 5th after another solid drive, ahead of Lando Norris. Alex Albon is struggling. He needs to be doing better than 7th, to be honest. Ahead of Charles Leclerc, who is continuing to outperform that difficult Ferrari. Then you have Lance Stroll in 9th with Pierre Gasly rounding out the top 10. And looking at the constructors' standings, we have Mercedes on top right now with a clear lead, almost 200 points in front of Red Bull. Then we have Racing Point in 3rd, 4 points ahead of McLaren in 4th, with McLaren 2 points ahead of Renault in 5th. Ferrari are quickly starting to drop into the clutches of AlphaTauri, with Alfa Romeo, Haas and Williams at the back end of the field, but Haas managing to get a couple more points courtesy of Romain Grosjean. So, before we close off this live stream, this midweek recap, it's now time to go into the Race Week Moments of the Week. At number 5, we have Friday washout. Everyone was there, set to go out, but the rain said no. It wasn't the fact that the track was too damp. It was the fact that the medical helicopter could not reach its destination if there was, for example, a serious crash. So that meant that all the running was wiped out on Friday. It was a shame for all the people that came there on the Friday. It must have been a miserable day for the fans that were there in the stands, especially the ones that came all the way over to Germany from other countries to see a Friday washout. At number 4, we have Leclerc's qualifying stonker. It may be an uncompetitive car, but it's certainly not stopping Charles. I think he is proving himself more this year than he even did last year. This is a very difficult car that he is driving, but he is rising above it. Whilst his teammate Vettel is struggling in the lower end of the midfield, he is taking this car to places where it simply does not belong, and he is really showing himself to be a champion of the future. At number 3, we have the Super Subs fight through the field. Nico Hülkenberg on Friday morning, did not know he was going to be racing on Sunday. In fact, he did not know until about half an hour before practice 3, which ended up being the first practice on Saturday. Yet he rose above the challenge and managed to fight his way from the back of the field to a solid points-paying position for Racing Point. And it was a really good drive which has got teams talking about whether he will be on the grid full-time next year. At number 2, we have Ricciardo sending it to the podium. Daniel Ricciardo, as I said earlier, this podium we knew was coming. It was just a matter of time. And it came last weekend at the Eiffel Grand Prix, where he fended off Sergio Perez to take the final podium position. Well deserved, and as the way things are going, I'd be surprised if this was the last time he was on the podium this season. And at number 1, we have Lewis Hamilton equaling the Maestro, taking his 91st Grand Prix win. And still, it feels surreal to be saying this, that someone else has taken 91 Grand Prix wins other than the Maestro himself. Lewis Hamilton is rewriting the history books. No one even thought that Michael's record would be even touched until now. Yet, Lewis Hamilton, barely 15 years later, is now well on his way to breaking all of Michael's records. And the people that I honestly do not understand, the people doubting him because saying that he only wins because of the car. You don't win 6 world titles and win 91 races by simply having the best car. You have to have genuine world-class talent to do that. And Lewis has proven that that is exactly what he has. So that is it from the RaceWeek midweek recap. Before we go, as I said at the beginning of the stream, make sure you follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/raceweek_show, and also visit the RaceWeek website at raceweekblog.com. There will be a blog post coming either tonight or tomorrow discussing the Eiffel Grand Prix. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment and subscribe to this channel, and we'll see. I might have a video coming before next week, but as far as the shows are concerned, we'll see you next week where we preview the Portuguese Grand Prix at Portimao. Goodbye.